but you couldn't do it before. It strains reason and certainly demonstrates that you don't have any credibility when it comes to the questions that we ask, and which leaves me to wonder what I should even bother asking you, because I can't believe anything that you're going to say. Will you provide us with those names right now? You obviously know who the VP of a major Crown corporation was who appears on your website. The Chief Information Officer for the Government of Canada. What was the name? You know.
I said previously, I will give you these information.
No, sir. I do not accept that. You will provide this committee with a name. You told us 16 months. You've had 16 months. You've had 16 months to do it. And this is your opportunity now to demonstrate that you are true to your word. So are you going to make that demonstration, or are you going to prove what we know to be true, and that's that you're not honest?
Like I said, I appreciate the question. I will give you the answers.
Yet your appreciation for the question isn't the reason that I asked it.
Okay.
I'm looking for the information.
Okay. I said I would give you the information.
Yeah, you also said that 16 months ago. Sir, it is not just contempt of Parliament, but it's contemptuous to Canadians. They are lined up at food banks in record numbers, and you are raking in millions of dollars off the backs of Canadians. And then when you're called to provide even just the smallest bit of accountability, you laugh in Canadians' face. And it's disgusting, to be clear. And well, we'll see if you do, in fact, provide those names finally this time. But after 16 months, I certainly don't believe you, and neither can Canadians.
Thanks. That is our time. Mr. Firth, you're welcome to offer a quick response. Otherwise, we'll go to Mr. Kuzmichuk. Mr. Firth, did you want to respond to that? Okay. Mr. Kuzmichuk, please. The floor is yours for 5 minutes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I will have a motion before that I'd like to put forward as well before my time expires, Mr. Chair, so if you can give me a heads up so that I can put a motion forward.
I'm sorry, are you intending just to read it into the record, or are you putting it as a matter of hand motion?
Matter of hand.
Thank you, sir. Go ahead.
The Auditor General, so GC Strategies is essentially a staffing IT agency, and the Auditor General noted the differences between the per diem costs of a private staffing agency versus a public someone that works in the public service in the IT sector, and so the per diem cost that the AG noted was about $1,090 for a staffing agency. Versus the per diem cost for a public sector IT professional, which is about $675. It's almost double. It's reflective as well of what we're seeing. For example, we hear a lot in the news these days about private nursing staffing agencies. And so, for example, a regular RN, registered nurse working for a public hospital, for example, will make about $40 an hour. Whereas a private staffing agency, a private staffing nurse will typically make about $90 to $100 per hour, and in some instances, $160 per hour. So what we're seeing in the IT sector is also what we're seeing in when it comes to nursing and healthcare and other sectors as well too. Can you tell us why is there such an increase in the cost of contracts for private sector staffing agencies like GC Strategies or nurses in the case of nursing? If you can sort of highlight or enlighten us why such an increase.
Well, the one that comes to mind is just the type of work these resources will be doing. In the private sector, whether it's Shopify or whatever, it's more innovative technology and more innovative solutions. And whereas in the public sector, you're dealing with more of a mainframe system or more older back-end systems, and sometimes outdated technology as well. So I think just the private sector can charge more, I think, because they're going back to companies which are either paying more because they just know that they're trying to get a specific skill set with it, because they're always advancing technology. And there's probably only 20, 30 people or 50 people can do that versus 70 or 80 or 100 or 300 people that can do Java or .NET or more of an established technology.
And Mr. Firth, where is the top talent migrating to, the public sector or the private sector when it comes to IT?
Private.
Private sector. Is it even close?
No, it's not close.
Can you talk to us a little bit about that for those that aren't initiated in the IT world?
Yeah, I mean, for example, we can have if you were to do side-by-side comparisons of the same requirement with the same experience, people are going to want to work for, it sounds kind of like, they want to work for a private sector firm that has beanbags, that has all of these other perks that come working at just a job, where I feel like there's, it's a harder sell to try to get somebody to come and work for a public sector.
Salaries are bigger in the private sector or the public sector?
In the private. I mean, there used to be a desire to come and work for the government. You'd have your pension and so forth. Whereas the problem is now the delta between the two are so that you can work in the private sector, save your money, and it'd be in a better environment, and you'd also have just as much as if you had a pension.
And you mentioned Veritech. You worked for Veritech, which is a company that was operating long before 2015. I'm looking at, they've received hundreds of millions of dollars in contracts from the previous government.
You have about 45 seconds left, sir.
Oh, okay, I will move to my motion then, Mr. Chair. I appreciate the heads up. So, we heard a lot of discussion today about vendors and suppliers coming together to design the mandatory criteria. And the concerns that were outlined by the Auditor General and by the Ombudsman, that this might actually artificially reduce competition. I think competition here is something serious that we raised a number of times, even today around this table. And so I think we do have a Competition Bureau Commissioner here in Canada. I'd like to hear from Mr. Boswell, who's the Competition Bureau Commissioner. And the reason I say that is because it's the role of the Competition Bureau Commissioner to ensure fair competition, to enforce fair competition, but also the Competition Bureau Commissioner provides advice to tendering agencies on how to protect the process, how to protect the competitive process. And as well, I would add that the Competition Bureau Commissioner also recently introduced or released what's called the Collusion Risk Assessment Tool. So I think the Competition Bureau Commissioner would provide some incredible light and information on securing and protecting competition in the procurement process. And so my motion is that I would ask that the committee invite the Competition Bureau Commissioner to appear for 2 hours on government procurement processes and address issues of competition, fair bidding, bid rigging, and how tendering authorities can protect the bid process, the competitive bid process itself. I think we would absolutely benefit from speaking with the Competition Bureau Commissioner.
Thanks. We'll start a speaking order. Mr. Genuis.
Chair, I think there's unanimous support for this motion, and I don't want to take time away from our limited time for witness. So I think if you put the question now, you'll find there's unanimous support for this, and we can just move on.
I think we were at that point before your intervention. Thank you. Colleagues, are we comfortable with that? Yes. We could actually maybe even do it parallel to the red tape reduction or as part of the red tape reduction, but we seem to have unanimous consent, so adopted. Thank you, Mr. Kusmirchuk. I appreciate that. We're now going to Mr. Baird, I believe, or Mr. Genuis? Yes. Mr. Genuis, please go ahead, sir.
Thank you. Mr. Firth, how many current contracts do you have with the Government of Canada?
We have 0 contracts right now.
Okay. Is it not the case that you have one outstanding that ends at the end of March?
Nope. That was cancelled. The resources were pulled off the project.
Okay. And this is because you've been suspended from getting certain kinds of contracts with the government, correct? Suspended but not outright banned. Is that accurate?
Correct. We've been suspended. But
Okay.
We've lost our security clearance. We've lost our security clearances as well, so we cannot actually build that work.
Okay.
Well, any work.
How are you informed about this change to your procurement status?
Well, first we found out in the House of Commons when the minister declared it, but we weren't aware of it. And then secondly, we were let know by PSPC.
Okay, so the minister said it before the contract had actually been canceled?
Yeah, and also before our security had been cancelled.
Okay, so what was the lag time between the minister saying it had happened and when it actually happened?
3 hours.
Okay, so it happened the same day. Who from PSPC contacted you?
Can I get that to you? I don't have that in front of me right now.
Can you get it to us by 5 o'clock?
I think it was on, yes, by 5 o'clock, yes.
Okay. Were you contacted by any other departments?
Only those people who we had resources remaining in there who actually removed the resources from their project.
Okay, on what dates were you contacted by other departments?
Again, can I kindly ask that I get that to you?
By 5, please. In the lead up to these changes, were you in discussions with government officials? Did you have any conversations about the possible suspension?
I had a conversation with a gentleman from PSPC where I indicated that I actually was going to terminate my security before it was suspended, because when you have no government contracts, it's kind of hard to get.
Who were you in touch with at PSPC? What's the gentleman's name?
I think his name's Nolan. No, Nolan was his first name, and I can't remember his last name. Sorry, Belleville.
Okay.
I think Nolan was his first name.
Okay. And could you give us dates for those discussions?
Yes, I can.
Okay. What does the GC and GC strategy stand for?
Sorry?
What does the GC?
Just Government of Canada. Just Government of Canada.
Okay, Government of Canada Strategies is the full name. Did you discuss your testimony today with anybody from the government?
No, I did not.
Okay. You'll confirm that, and we'll be able that you didn't just have any discussions with anyone.
I can confirm that.
Okay. Sir, I want to give you one more chance to answer the question that I asked previously. I think you should understand and appreciate the powers that Parliament has and the critical role that Parliament has in getting information from Canadians. And you may not like the criticism that entails, that sometimes flows from it, but we have a responsibility to stand up for taxpayers, and that includes being able to fulfill our functions as parliamentarians. So can you provide the names of the officials who you met with that I had previously requested for the contract where you sat down with government officials and worked out the terms of that contract? Can you provide the names of who you met with?
I appreciate the question, but unfortunately, again, I'm still taking the same stance that I was brought in here before the investigation was completed. And all assumptions is the RCMP has every allegation that's surrounding this. So at that point, I cannot interject.
Sir, have you been briefed by your lawyer on the constitutional principle of the supremacy of Parliament, the rights that parliamentary committees have when it comes to requesting information, the fundamental powers that in a democracy the legislature has to have? Have you been briefed on these issues? And if you have, then why do you persist in just disregarding those requirements?
I appreciate the question. So unfortunately, I can't comment on that. But the conversations between myself and my lawyer are privileged.
You're privileged, all right. Oh, okay. Yeah, I think there's quite an assertion of privilege from you that ignores the rights and responsibilities of democratically elected legislative bodies. So
that is our time, Mr. Generous. We'll go on to Mr. Sousa. Sorry, we'll go to Mr. Sousa, please, for 5.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I think we're wrapping up soon. I just wanted to address some of the issues in respect to the use of ArriveCAN. And I know, Mr. Firth, this is not necessarily under your responsibility, and you made that clear in terms of the actual engagement or the final use of the product, but